Hey Stone Posters, welcome back to part 2 of How to Mount a Fish. It's been about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Everything's dried up. The way that you can tell is when you flick the fins, they'll sound that dry, crispy sound, and that's kind of how you know. Another good place to check is around the head. Make sure none of that is squishy. It's all nice and dry. So what we did is we went ahead and pulled off all of the carding material that we had on, and then you need to seal it. And what I use to do that is just Mod Podge. You go over the entire fish, all of the fins, go in the mouth. Also, right now is a good time if you put a hole in it when skinning it to put some clay over that. You'll cover up any holes, just smear that clay on, and then take a paper clip, kind of bend it at a 90-degree angle, and I have 2 sizes. And then you go over that clay and you make fish scales into it so that it looks natural. It doesn't look like a big flat spot. And that's kind of how you do a skin repair. On this one, we have the fin. It's got a tear in it right there. So we're going to have to fix that one. You can do all of your fins. This one's just really bad, so I'm going to fix that one. The rest aren't too bad. There's a couple nicks here and there, but I think it kind of helps it look a little natural. When you start putting the material on, they get kind of fake looking. If they're not terrible, it's sometimes better to just leave them as they are. What you do to fix them is you apply the Mod Podge to the back side of your fin. On this one, there's not really a back since it'll be on the wall. You're gonna be looking at the front and back. But I think we're just gonna put it on the back side of the fin anyway. What we're gonna do is put Mod Podge on there, and then just tissue paper, like what you put in gifts, that stuff. We'll put that on the back, right like that, and then put Mod Podge over it again, and that'll fill in that gap. Kind of let the Mod Podge dry, and then go in with a pair of scissors and cut it off to where it looks natural, that nice lobe. And that'll be how you fix the fins. Make sure again that you cover up the entire fish with Mod Podge. That's going to act as your primer and your sealer, because the next step will be to paint everything. So you want to establish that base coat, make sure that you have good primer and everything sealed up. You're not going to get any oil leaking through, anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and start working on this fin and get that all fixed up. So when you're doing a skin mount fish, you're going to get some shrinkage around the head. Kind of on the top, it's going to be really bad. Right in here, on the top of the skull, you're going to have a lot of shrinkage. It's going to look like dry, dead skin. So another thing that I found Mod Podge is good for is to kind of help fill those areas back in that are shrunk like that. It's also good to go around your eyes where that clay is, and it'll make sure that everything's sealed up. If there's a little bit of a gap where that clay was, it'll help to fill that and make everything nice and smooth. So then when you go to paint it, especially with white, you're gonna notice all of those little gaps and dimples and everything like that. So it's good to have as smooth of a painting surface as possible. And Mod Podge just helps to fill in some more of those places and smooth everything out. Alright, so like I said, we're going to start with putting Mod Podge on the back of the fin. It's good to have a little bit bigger brush, or actually a couple different sizes of brushes. When you're doing the body part, the main body, it's good to have a bigger brush, especially on these bigger fish. And then on smaller fish, it's good to have a little brush so that you can get under the gills, everything. This one's good. It's a nice wide brush. So for these bigger fish, it works perfect. And then you're gonna set the tissue paper on there, kind of push it down with the paintbrush, and then take more Mod Podge and go over the back of that tissue paper. And that's gonna sandwich it in there and make sure that it stays on there good. All right, that's all that we can do for right now. We're going to let the Mod Podge dry on that fin so that we can come in tomorrow and trim it up with just a pair of scissors, and then it should be ready to paint. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, so our Mod Podge is dry, and we just came in with a pair of scissors and trimmed it off, kind of following the natural line of the fin. If you don't have a lot of fin to work with or enough to really know where you're at, look at a good reference photo. Try to find something online so you know what shape a bass fin is. We also went ahead and worked on the back tail here. We just did the same thing, put Mod Podge, that tissue paper, and then trimmed it off to make it look natural. The first time that I've had to do this was there was a hole in the bottom of the mouth, and I had to put some tissue paper in there to fix that. And that's the first time that I've had to do something like that. You can see it's right there, and it actually worked pretty good. It was on some of the thinner stuff, the thinner skin, so it was relatively easy to just do the same thing as on the fins. So everything is dry, everything is repaired. Now we're ready to start painting. What you're going to want to do to start is marking all of your lateral line dots. This one faded away, so you couldn't really tell where the dots were. So I just went ahead and took a Sharpie and marked out on there what I thought looked natural, what looked good. Using a pencil to mark like your center line works good too. But this is what we're going to go with for now. I had to look at a reference photo to kind of know what to make, but we're going to go ahead and darken them in very lightly with the Sharpie, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll start with our base coat of white. So here we go. So we're going to start with our white. We're going to be airbrushing this fish. What we're going to do is we're going to take the white. It's just a detail white, and I mixed a little bit of pearl in with it. We're going to paint all over the belly, right here along the face and up here. We're going to fade the white right at where the dots start. You want to make sure that they're not covered up so that later on you can still see them. We're using about 35 to 40 pounds of air right now. It's a little bit more just because this is just putting paint on. There's no real detail to it right now, so you can use a little bit more air. I typically use about 30 to 35 for more detail stuff. So we'll go ahead and start getting this white on now. And make sure that you turn your fish, make sure that you get the belly all covered really good. I'm gonna turn this one a little bit so I can get more of the belly. We got the white all on. We made sure we went over it a couple of times and got every place that needs to be white, made sure that we hit it. All of the fins and up here around all of the mouth, make sure that you get into this area right here in between the maxillary and the lip. Sprayed inside the mouth, sprayed the gills, and sprayed the back side of it as well. Make sure that you get all of that. Next we're going to do yellow, and that's going to be more angle spraying along the back to kind of hit these scales at a certain direction. That'll give it more character, make it pop a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and get some yellow mixed up. We've cleaned the air gun really good. Make sure that you do that after every color. That's really important. That makes sure that your gun's going to continue to keep working and that you're not going to get colors mixed up. It's going to make sure that all of the white is cleaned out and that you're only going to be putting yellow out. Also, they're very finicky if there's any dirt in there, so make sure that you clean everything really good, and that'll make sure that when you put on the next color that everything's going to work good. Now we've got a bright yellow, and we're going to go over all of the fins around the eyes and a little bit around the mouth. We'll kind of show you as we go. So we'll go ahead and do all of the fins. These top ones you can do with white as well. I forgot to do them. It's not going to make too much of a difference. We're just going to go over them with yellow, and then they'll be green at the end. So the white just kind of gives a good base coat. It's more important on the belly where it's going to be white, and on fins where they're a little bit lighter. These fins are a little bit darker, so it's not as important to get the white on them. But we're going to go over all of the fins now with a bright yellow. So what we did with the yellow was put a light coat on the fins. We went around the eyes where the clay was. That'll help color that in. We went right here on the face. We just put a little bit. We made sure not to get any down here, but we put a little bit on the cheeks right here and on the gill cover. And the brown and the yellow kind of mix to make a green. So anywhere that's going to be green is where you're going to want a little bit of yellow. We went on the top fins here. Again, a light coat here. And then above the lateral line spots here, we did an angle spray. So we're spraying from this angle. You're kind of going down and from the rear so that it's just hitting the back of the fins. And that's going to give it an interesting effect. It just kind of gives depth to the fish. We did the back as well with the same kind of thing. Just doing that angle spray there along the face. What we did on the mouth right here is we hit these teeth and let the overspray go back and hit this maxillary back here. And that kind of colors this part, but leaves this space in between, leaves that white. We're looking good so far. Again, make sure that you're not hitting any of this white belly with any of the yellow. If you need to card the fins, go ahead and just take like a piece of cardboard. You can cut a little notch in it so that you can slide it up around the fin and make sure that you're not getting anything else yellow that's not supposed to be yellow. Now we've got a medium green mixed up. I put a little bit of this Pearl X green, apple green color in. It's like a metallic flake. It just kind of gives it a little more pearl look to it. What we're going to do with this medium green is we're going to go over this yellow over these top fins, the bottom fins very lightly, and over the back, where basically everywhere that we put the yellow. Right now you're just you're getting closer to the final like look of it, what you want it to look like in the end. So kind of vary how heavy your coat is depending on what look you're going for. If you're going for more of a light colored bass, do a really light coat of green. If you're doing more of a darker colored bass, do a heavier coat of green and maybe add a little bit of black to your paint mix as well. Here's how we're looking right now. The green's maybe not quite the right color. Make sure that you're getting airbrush paints. If you get craft paints like that, they don't really go through an airbrush super great, and they're kind of dull, that I found. Airbrush paints just seem to be a little more vibrant and work better in an airbrush for obvious reasons. I'm gonna go over the back with a little bit darker green. I mixed some black pearl with some opaque medium green, and we're going to do the spots with that, and I'm gonna go over the back really lightly to give it that darker appearance. I might touch up the fins a little bit more. That paint was giving me some troubles, so I didn't quite get as dark as I would like to with the green, but we're gonna go ahead and do the spots now. We got the spots all finished up. We added a few dots there on the bottom and some stripes up behind the eye. Make sure that you have a good reference photo and you'll kind of know where those lines will go. We added some spots there on the top. Some bass have that, some don't. I've personally never seen it on a bass, but they're usually pretty even colored, I guess you could say. The only thing that we have left to do now is put some red on the gills, and we're just gonna stuff the mouth full of paper towels, and then we'll spray in from behind here and hit all of the gills there. Having the right colors definitely makes a difference. On this one, I feel like the color's just not quite right. It's not terrible, but I feel like it could be a little bit better. I think I could have used a little bit lighter yellow coat. It seems like it's just poking through a little bit too much and making it look a little bit fake. Again, with the craft paint, it definitely doesn't give it the sheen like an airbrush paint does. I'm gonna go ahead and do the gills, and then we'll go from there. After that, it's going to be clearing the fish with a high gloss sealer, and then after that we'll be done. Here we are all finished up. We got the gills painted. Better shot there. You can kind of see that we got some red on them. We've got the spots all done. I had to go in and do a little touch up around some of the fins. I got a little bit of overspray. We'll peel off the tape from the eyes. That looks good. That anal fin is a little bit yellow, but I think once we get some clear on it, it'll kind of smooth out. It looks worse on camera than it is in person. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It's not too bad. This is my first bass that I painted, so I think it turned out pretty good. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Stone Post Fishing, and follow me on Instagram. We'll see you on the next one.